Good morning, and thank you, Johan, for that wonderful introduction. Goeiemorgen mense. This morning I want to start with a risk briefing, if you don't mind. Now, I know I can actually hear some of you thinking, I came here for the eggs and the awards, not a risk briefing. Bear with me, asseblief. I don't often get audiences as influential as this one. So all in the same room at the same time. So let me tell you now, I wanted to share with you a little bit of information, important information about the Lesotho Highlands Water Project, the LHWP. Now, this is one of the largest water infrastructure projects on the African continent. It was established by treaty between Lesotho and South Africa in 1986, and it's governed by two bodies. One, the Lesotho Highlands Development Authority on the one side, and the South African Trans-Caledonian Tunnel Authority on the other. Now, this project harvests water from the Maluti Mountains, one of the wettest catchment areas in Southern Africa. And it transfers it northward through a really extraordinary network of tunnels and dams and pipelines into the Vaal River system and ultimately feeds into Gauteng. The importance of this project is the key infrastructure. Now, you'll know that it's got the Katse Dam, one of the tallest arch dams in the world, completed in 1996. It's got the Mohali Dam, a major rockfall dam, completed in 2002. The Muela hydropower station, which is supplying electricity back into Lesotho, and the Polihali Dam, which is at phase 2 under construction, scheduled for target completion in 2028. Now for the headline statistic that every business risk register should have in this room. The Lesotho Highlands Water Project currently supplies around 30% of the total demand for water in the Vaal River Basin in that system, making it one of the most critical external sources feeding Gauteng and surrounding provinces. This contribution is essential because the Vaal River Basin supports nearly 45% of South Africa's population and 60% of its GDP. Phase 2 alone, once complete, will transfer over 1.27 billion cubic meters of water per year. Now, let me get to the important part, the risk register. You'll see that there's financial risk. Phase 2 costs have already escalated from the initial 8 billion to over 53 billion. One parliamentarian has warned that could reach 200 billion without intervention. There's governance risk. The National Treaty prevents South Africa's Auditor General from auditing the Lesotho Highlands Development Authority directly. Accountability gaps exist literally by design. There's construction risk. The project was due for completion in 2019, and main contracts were only awarded in 2002. So there's all sorts of stuff. 5 ministers and 11 directors generals have been involved from the South African perspective since 2013. Keeps changing. Then let me just step back, there's environmental risk. The construction activities have already polluted the dam catchment with acidic wastewater. There's climate risk, there's political risk. There is a whole bunch of risk around this project. But this is the big problem, catchment degradation. Between 20 and 50% of Lesotho Highlands Water Project wetlands have disappeared over 30 years. 50% of the wetlands over the last 30 years. The wetlands are the natural sponges of the system. They regulate water flow and they prevent sedimentation in the dams. Without them, the dams silt up and lose capacity. The primary cause, overgrazing by cattle in the highland catchment areas. The land has no enforced carrying capacity. And here's the cruel irony. The Lesotho Highlands Water Project itself built the roads that give the herders access to those sensitive areas. Without urgent catchment rehabilitation, the Polihali Dam faces the same fate as some of its predecessors. And Johannesburg and surrounding provinces face what hydrologists are calling a day zero scenario. You remember Cape Town, don't you? Okay, that's the briefing version. That's the risk briefing version. That's the type of version that you might find on a Monday morning at a quick catch-up meeting. That's the briefing version. But risk doesn't live in spreadsheets. You know where it lives? It lives in people's lives. I want to introduce you to two men. These men have never met. They don't speak the same language. They've never even been in the same room. One has not even heard of the other. And yet, their lives are bound in ways that neither of them fully understands. His name is Thabo. Thabo lives in the Maluti Mountains of Lesotho, up where the air is thin and the grass, when there is grass, is the color of pale gold. He's the third generation of his family to herd cattle on these slopes. His grandfather herded here, his father herded here, and now Thabo herds here. Thabo herds with a stick, a mobile phone that has no signal, and about 40 head of cattle that represent everything that his family owns. Thabo wakes before sunrise. He takes his cattle up the mountain. The cattle eat whatever they find, every day, in the same places. Because the mountain is big and the paths are familiar, and nobody has ever told Thabo that he can't go there. And the grass gets a little thinner every year. The ground gets a little harder. And when the rain comes, and there's less of it than there used to be, possibly from climate change, the water runs off faster now, carrying topsoil with it, down the rivers, into the valleys, eventually into the reservoirs and dams that Thabo has never seen. Thabo's not a villain. He's just a man doing what his family has always done, in a landscape that's slowly, quietly changing beneath him. Now meet Donnie. Donnie lives in Woodland Hills. He drives a double cab. He says it's a Hilux, not a bakkie. He's a little bit unsure about the new front end of the latest version, but he's a Hilux man. He's got a golf index of 14, and he'll tell anybody who listens he could be single digits if he just put his mind to it. Donnie works in supply chain. Donnie's good at his job. He manages risk for a living, spreadsheets, supply audits, scenario planning. He goes to conference. He sits in rooms like this. He wins awards. Wel gedaan, Donnie. Good on him. On Saturday mornings, Donnie has a ritual. 18 holes, a bed halfway, and at the 19th, because he's earned it, the brandy and Coke special. Not a Pepsi, a Coke, obviously. Donnie's life is good. Donnie's life is comfortable. Donnie has never thought about where his water comes from. He understands the distribution problem, but he mitigated that risk with a JoJo tank. Didn't we all? But now this is where the story gets interesting. Because up in the Maluti Mountains, Thabo's cattle have been grazing the same wetland grass for decades. In those wetlands, those spongy, unremarkable places of highland bog that no one photographs and no one visits, and the reason that the Kasi Dam holds water. They slow the rain, they filter the silt, they feed the tunnels. And when the wetlands degrade year by year, hoofprint by hoofprint, the silt load in the rivers increases. The dams fill a little slower. Water quality drops. Treatment costs rise. And then one summer, hotter than usual. Have you heard about the super El Nino? Hotter than usual, drier than the models predicted. The valve system drops below critical thresholds. Water restrictions are imposed. The brewery in Roslyn gets a notice. Reduce water usage by 30% immediately. The Coca-Cola factory in Midrand gets the same notice. Bottles slow down the line, supply drops. Retailers start rationing, prices spike. And Donnie, standing at the bar at his favorite golf club on Saturday afternoon, sweaty and decidedly, quietly triumphant after shooting a respectable 85, was told, sorry, bro, we're out of Coke, and the beer's up $10 a glass. Donnie stares at the barman. What do you mean out of Coke? The barman says, water shortage, supply chain, sorry. Donnie, supply chain professional, risk manager award winner, had no idea. He had no idea that his brandy and coke was connected to a mountain in Lesotho. He had no idea that the man with the cattle and the worn path on the hillside had anything to do with his Saturday morning. He had no idea that the risk was already in his register. It just wasn't written in a language that made him feel it. The first time I gave you the facts, percentages, infrastructure, a risk register, all accurate, all important, all the kind of stuff that ends up in a boardroom deck and gets scrolled past during the meeting. The second time, I gave you Thabo and Dani. I gave you 40 cattle and a golf handicap. I gave you a Saturday morning and an empty Coke fridge. And I suspect, I hope, that the second version is the one that you'll remember. You see, that's not an accident. That is storytelling structure. Let me explain the framework to you. Firstly, the setup. Establish the world. Make it real. Make it specific. I told you about Woodlands, the double cab, the handicap of 14. Specificity creates believability. I nearly ran out of my voice bundle there. Number two, what I gave you. I gave you characters. I gave you two people, believable characters, worlds apart, invisibly connected. Every business risk has human beings at both ends. Where are those human beings? I gave you an invisible thread, the mechanism that connects them. In this case, the wetlands, the silt, the tunnels, the reservoirs, production line, a tap, a glass. Show the chain, how it connects. Then the disruption, something goes wrong, the risk event, keep it concrete and personal. This is not supply chain disruption. This is no Coke and the 8 Rand more, 10 Rand for a glass of beer. And then the realization, the character, your audience understands the connection, and this is the emotional call. Finally, the implication. What does it mean for us? What should we be doing differently? This is where the story earns its place in a business context. This is where you could deliver your call to action. So that's the framework. But you might be asking yourself, what is the relevance? Here's the relevance. You see, you here this morning at a beautiful hotel in Bloemfontein, one of the most beautiful cities in the world, because either you or your organization has won a PMR Africa award. That's not just a certificate. That award is the recognition of excellence. Now, the certificate itself that you'll be issued might end up on the wall. There'll be a press release, a pitch deck, social media, maybe even a billboard I've seen on Willie Mandela Drive in Joburg. But somewhere behind that award is a story. There's a person who almost gave up on a project. There's a client who took a chance. There's a team that worked right through the crisis that nobody knew about. There's a moment where the whole thing could have gone the other way. Find that moment. Find the people in it. Tell us what was at stake. Tell us what it felt like. Make us feel the risk and then make us feel the relief. Because this is what I know about this room. Because I've been in that room and rooms just like it. Every single one of you is trying to persuade someone of something. You're trying to win business. You're trying to retain talent. You're trying to secure an investment. You're trying to influence a decision, change your behavior. This is what I want you to remember. Data opens the door like we opened the door today. But story closes the deal. Thabo is still on the mountain this morning. He does not know anything about the award breakfast in Bloemfontein. He doesn't know about Dani's golf game or the brewing plant in Rossland or how dependent we are on his water. He's just doing what his family has always done. The risk is real, the connection is real, and the story, when told well, is impossible to ignore. See, that's the power of storytelling in business. Not instead of data, alongside it, around it, in service of it, because that's what story does. Story carries the information. Facts inform, stories move. And in business, you need people to move. Congratulations to all of this morning's award winners. I want to encourage you to go find your stories. And when you share this announcement, don't put the social media post with you holding the beautiful certificate and say, proud to have been awarded the PMR Diamond Arrow Award. Rather say, this morning I sat in a room with my peers in an awards breakfast and reflecting on the journey, boom, 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 personal stories, and that will carry the message that you are an award winner. And if you want to know a little bit more about storytelling, my name is Gary Tintinger. I'm the two-time Southern African champion of public speaking, a semi-finalist in the World Championship of Public Speaking, and a professional speaker and storyteller. If you reach out to me on that email, I will share with you a short ebook on how you can leverage business stories within your organization. Enjoy your breakfast, and again, congratulations on those awards.